Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to WildEarth. Welcome down to Penguin Beach. We have a very different and very exciting show planned for you all today. So my name is Jax. I'm going to be your naturalist down here. We have Flippy behind the camera, and today we are going to take you along with us on what we call a bioblitz. So over this weekend, it is the City Nature Challenge, where all around the world, citizen scientists are participating in an iNaturalist challenge to see which city has the most biodiversity. So today we're going to be doing that with you on the show and seeing how many different animal species we can clock up by walking throughout the Penguin Beach area. So let's have a look at the sea and just take in the weather and the conditions for our challenge today. It is a beautiful, beautiful day. We have sunshine. We do have some swell running out. Autumn day down here at Penguin Beach. And just a reminder that we are a live show, so send us your comments and questions by using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or you can register on our channels page and submit your questions there. And under the age of 18, send us an email at kidsquestions@wildearth.tv, and we will look at your questions, and our lovely director Nadine is going to let me know what they are. So today's show, we're going to focus on spotting many different species. Let's have a look at the official weather report before we get started. So these are perfect bioblitzing conditions. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to be looking out for as many different types of animals as what we can find. And as we spot them, I'm going to add them into the iNaturalist app. And at the end of our hour, we'll be able to see how many animals we managed to clock up in the show. And typically when people are racing and they want to win something, people go very fast. But in nature, when you rush, you miss things. So we are going to take a slow stumble through the colony, and we're going to stop at different spots and just take in what we can find. I think our first animal of the day is sitting on the rocks there. And it looks like we have a southern rock agama who is sunning itself. Do you see him, Flippy? He's Welcome, Darkbane lover. It is lovely to have you with us. We're starting off with a reptilian friend, so we're starting off with a southern rock agama, the very first of our animal observations for today. These rock agamas are quite common throughout South Africa, actually, and we're lucky to have them down here at Penguin Beach. So this is what I believe to be a male agama. It's got a little bit of blue on its face. This agama is sunning itself a little and is in the perfect spot to hide should any predators be about. So we are going to be adding this into our species count, and it's very easy. You simply take a photo, you select the species you think it is, if you think you know what it is, and then you submit the sighting. So anybody can do this all around the world. You don't have to be a scientist. You just need to have a curiosity and an interest in the world around you. I think let's move on over to our second animals of the day. We've got two Egyptian geese. And these birds are just a bit skittish. Something scared them. We'll just watch them for a little bit. today's challenge, we've decided to only do animals just because there is a lot of plant life about. But with the City Nature Challenge, the idea is to record everything. So all the animals you see, all the different plant species. Maybe we will do a similar blitz in days to come, in times to come.
All WildEarth explorers have a chance to join our naturalists in a monthly fireside chat. This is a great way to learn more about our guides, animal characters, and wildlife locations. We would love to hear from you as to the topics that interest you the most. Email us your ideas or tweet using the hashtag WildEarth, and we will be sure to take them into account when planning our evenings around the fire in the future. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
So we've just been watching these two Egyptian geese who have now settled on a spot that they'd like to take a nap. So they climbed up the rocks, and you can see this is typical bird resting behavior. They'll tuck their heads into their wings. Sometimes they'll rest on only one leg. Let's have a look and see if we can spot any other animals in this area. So I think Flippy's going to take a slow scan. Like I said before, the best way to spot animals is to do it go slow. Arctic Circle, I've missed you over these 2 days. Beautiful question. So you're asking if the Stony Point ecosystem is considered vulnerable or stable. I would say that the ecosystem at current is fairly stable. We are seeing changes. So the water here is becoming colder on average. So the water temperature ranges about 10 degrees. So it can be anything from 10 to 21 degrees or so. And that can change overnight. But overall, the water is getting colder, which changes how the conditions will play out and how that plays out for our animals here. I'd say the colony itself is very nice and protected. So people have little access to where the animals are. So you can see that our dune spinach is doing very well. Most of the animals in the colony are finding shelter here, and they're not having too much human disturbance. So in a sense, the ecosystem is stable. I would say my two biggest worries for this ecosystem, the one is overfishing, because all of our birds, particularly our penguins and our Cape cormorants, love sardine and anchovy, which is the base food source of many of our oceanic animals here. And so that would be one concern, which is something they are looking at managing more actively, which is amazing. So they're looking at perhaps closing off areas when they know that the fish is not so great. And the other big threat, I would say, to this ecosystem is also human influence, and that would be pollution. So that is us leaving things at the colony when we shouldn't. Also something that we can solve by collecting our own litter and the litter of others, doing regular beach cleanups. Thank you so much for that question, Arctic Circle. So yes, it is a stable ecosystem, but with a couple of threats. And you can see Flippy's biologist mind is getting ahead of me. He's been set to a challenge, and he's sticking to it because he's found us a dussie, a rock hyrax, which is our third animal that we are going to have in our bioblitz. So we've also got a penguin in this frame, little African penguin sitting on a rock very far away. So I believe last year Cape Town either won or did extremely well in this BioBlitz challenge, because between our oceans and our fynbos, this area is extremely biodiverse. And our naturalist is very cool because it can identify animals. So it's already told me this is a rock hyrax. So Jess, it is. We've had some really lovely days. I was expecting some stormy weather, but yesterday was a bit drizzly in the morning and then ended up being lovely, and today is really perfect. Just a bit of a chilly breeze blowing, but otherwise incredible. So this Dussie or rock hyrax is just relaxing in the sun. It was giving itself a bit of a scratch. So when it comes to animal names, this is when it becomes difficult to identify different species, because most South Africans will not know what a hyrax is, because we grew up knowing this fuzzy little creature as a Dussie. So dus comes from badger in Dutch. That's why common names, so the names we often refer to, are not standardized. People have different names around the world, but scientific names are standardized so that if you had to go and try to find the scientific name of an animal, it's going to be the same all around the world, which just makes it a lot easier to identify the individual animals. So the rock hyrax is Procavia capensis. So Procavia would be your Dussie family.
There's a big male leopard coming this way.
I've been waiting for a sighting of the two of them like this together.
She just, for me, is just one of the most pretty females out here.
As you can see, we're sitting with the Duke of Djuma, Tingana, who is busy surveying his territory as the sun begins to set on another day in South Africa.
Here at WildEarth, we have added a range of new products and designs for the WildEarth shop. If you love being in nature, then we have a new range just for you. Our animal character line continues to grow, and this week we have incorporated a beautiful Tandy design to celebrate our favorite queen's life. April is Earth Day month, and investing in our planet is the message. And finally, there's a range just for our very own WildEarth explorers. Head over to our shop now and see what you can.
So Flippy and I are on the move, and we are on the hunt to rack up our biodiversity list today. So we are searching for different animal and bird species down here at Stony Point. And Cormorant Cove is a birder's paradise. And you'll see quite easily now, I think we'll clock all 4 cormorant species that we see here. We might actually clock some other bird species in Cormorant Cove too. So we are having a look now at the cove to see what we can find. And let's start off, I think, with our favorite siblings. And Flippy has informed me that we only have 3 siblings left in our favorite white-breasted cormorant nest. So I'm going to say it is Jack, Spade, and King who are left. The other 3 have fledged, and you can see there's actually one just below the nest playing with some kelp. So I'm just going to load the white-breasted cormorant in our BioBlitz observations. So I'm with you for the next 3 days, and we're going to be talking about citizen science on all of these days. Sharon, you're asking us how many species you think we'll see today. I'd like to get to 15. I feel like 15 would be quite good. So that would be my bet. And from all of you watching, how many species do you think on average we could see at Stony Point in a day? Send your comments through to us. I'd like to see, for those who watch regularly, how many you'd expect us to find today. It'd be quite interesting. So I've just loaded the white-breasted cormorant, and I think let's go have a look for our bank cormorants, because they're sitting on the top of the rocks there. Will be our next easy spot. And we'll also likely find our crowned cormorants in between the banks. Oh, but Flippy has found us some oyster catchers. So we've got our African black oyster catcher. So I'm just going to count the oyster catchers quickly before we do the cormorants. And these oyster catchers used to be endangered. So it's actually lovely that we get to see them so readily now. So let me load the oyster catchers first. And you'll see, once again, Flippy using his biologist brain, it's best to load the animals that are likely to fly first. Just makes it a lot easier. Because once you lose an animal, especially if you only get a very quick view, I don't always like to record what I haven't gotten a good look at. And we are now looking at our bank cormorants. So Oliver is asking if I have explored the whole Betty's Bay area, and the answer is no, I haven't. I must be honest, for many years I would just drive through Betty's Bay and only stop at the penguins or at the botanical gardens, but there is so much to see in this area. The fynbos is incredibly diverse, they've got really beautiful walks, and so I'd love to actually do a lot more exploring here. Because there's so much to see. And hopefully today we'll be able to make it a little bit further past the left wing and might be able to find some different animals that we don't typically show you out here on Penguin Beach. So I'm just recording our bank cormorant quickly. And we are already on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're already on 7 species. We're really doing fairly well. And I think Flippy's going to find us that crowned cormorant any second now. So the crowned cormorants often sit in between the bank cormorants when they breed. Let's just have a look out, and we should also have some Cape cormorants. They're actually flying by as we speak.
As most of you know by now, the reigning queen of Djuma, Thandi, has recently passed on. At 16 years, she had a long and fruitful existence.
She just, for me, is just one of the most pretty females out here.
Look.
Oh, Thandi, you beaut, you've done so well. Here we go, everyone.
How beautiful is that? Having the two of them drinking together.
Join the one and only leopard whisperer Tristan Dix around the fire with Rexon and Liam for a look back at Thandi's extraordinary life. This touching memorial will be open to all our registered viewers. Head over to our website on the 1st of May after the Sunset Safari to join in the celebration. This marks the beginning of World Leopard Week, where the challenge is on to see as many rosettes as possible. Rexon, our master tracker, will be leading the charge. We need as many eyes as possible, so please join us for a week of big cat fun.
So I think we've had a look for our crowned cormorant. Did we get a nice look of the Cape cormorants yet, Flippy? Not yet. Okay, so we'll look at the Cape cormorants. They're sitting on the very last rock. They tend to sit on the outskirts, not the outer skirts of the colony. And we are completely handheld today to be able to do this, this challenge that we're trying to do. So you'll find if you do any sort of biodiversity challenges, or if you do a bird list when you go on holiday, at the beginning it's very easy to clock up species because you are, you're brand new. But the more species you get, the harder it becomes to actually find different birds. But we also have a ground nesting bird in this area that comes around at night, and I think we'll have a look for them next. I'm just going to record that Cape cormorant quickly. And then let's have a look for our thickneys. So when you are doing any biodiversity count, it's good to have a look at all the different areas. So look on the sand, look on the rocks, look to the ocean. Because the different animals like to exploit different habitats. There you can see our water thickneys. So Gregory is asking if there's something specific that we're hoping to see. I'll ask Flippy first. Flippy, what would you like to see on today's BioBlitz?
I would love to get some marine species.
So Flippy is saying marine species, and I must admit that not only in a BioBlitz, but every day of my life, I wake up with the hopes of spotting any whale or dolphin. I'm not too fussy as to the species. So we are going to keep our eyes out on the ocean to see if we spot any blows or the disturbance of water. But when you're doing a BioBlitz, what is quite nice is to look for the rarest species. So it's very easy to get things like your Cape wagtail, for example, once we walk a little bit further along the shoreline. But if you are in an area, if you know that you live in a city where you've got a mountain and there's a particular bird who lives on that mountain, it's lovely to be the person who actually goes on that hike and gets the rarest species. I'm actually really hoping that we can get sea slaters, because I did have a look around earlier on, and I think today is a bit bright and warm for them. So I think we will get beach hoppers, but the little sea slaters who also live between the kelp and between the rocks might be a little bit more tricky. He's fledging, he's fledging. We're just going to go back to our cormorant nest, because it looks like one of the cormorants in the nest opening its wings and getting ready to fledge. I'd really love us to just get one of these cormorants actually climbing out the nest. Doesn't look like we're going to be that lucky today. But I do see another species on the shoreline. Looks like we might have two kelp gulls who are hanging out. So Peter's asking, do most of these birds nest elsewhere away from the ocean? So the white-breasted cormorant would. The white-breasted cormorant would nest above rivers. The water thickneys would nest inland, also close to water. So they would want to be on rivers and dams, things like that. Your penguins will not. Your Cape cormorants will sometimes go into estuaries, but I believe that they nest predominantly by the ocean, and the estuaries is more when the young disperse. Your bank cormorants are completely ocean-going, so they will nest by the sea. Your crowned cormorants will sometimes be in estuaries, but I do believe that they nest, once again, predominantly by the sea. Kelp gulls, other gull species like your Hartlapp's gull and particularly your grey-headed gull are known to nest inland. And that's often associated with humans and what we do. They really like refuge dumps. Kelp gulls like to nest with other seabirds, so that will also be mostly in seabird colonies, either at a place like Stony Point, which is a land colony. They also like to nest on beaches a lot. So in Plettenberg Bay, they've got a massive beach colony, and we also have one in Muizenberg in Cape Town.
Look at that, there's a tiny leopard cub. Karula has given birth overnight. Look at the little guy, we just came around the corner. That is incredible, that's probably his first solo kill.
Oh, and have a look, here comes Osana with the monitor lizard.
Osana, of course, at the same time decided to go climbing up the tree. He's just nearly fallen out of it again.
Look at that, he's running away. The buffalo is chasing Osana at the moment. Run away from this very big animal coming. That was so funny.
My favorite thing about WildEarth are the animals and the interaction and the ability to wait and watch and not rush off. You get to watch their behavior and learn about the individuals. I would like to see the hyenas at the hyena den, and I have. There. Look at that. If I could be any animal, I would be a cheetah. I would love to run fast.
So I guess in short, oh, there's a swift tern with a fish. So we'll see if we can get the tern. It's flying quite far away now. We'll see if there may be a couple of other terns passing by. So my rule today is going to be that if we don't show it to you, it doesn't count. Because I think it's only fair that we show what we see and what our viewers get to see on TV. We've already done quite well. We've got 10 observations, so we might smash 15. That swift tern has disappeared. I think that we've seen most of what we might see here at Cormorant Cove. I think we've looked in the sandy areas. We've found our duckops or our thickneys. We've looked at our cormorant nests. We've seen our penguins already. Flippy, are you happy to move? Do you want to try the next location? So the nice thing about the swift terns is we'll see them fly past no matter where we are, if they are around. You know, a bird that we wouldn't see nest close to us is actually the sacred ibis.
My name is Amy Macmillan. I'm the owner and founder of Ellie and May and one of the directors of the Macmillan Conservation Fund. My brother Mike and I were incredibly close and both share a great passion for conservation, for wildlife, for nature, for elephants in particular. Tragically, Mike was killed in a car accident. It was through his passion and enthusiasm for conservation and for elephants that really prompted me to start Ellie and May. Ellie and May is a lifestyle apparel brand that contributes towards and raises awareness about elephant conservation. So a percentage of our sales of our caps and our products goes towards the Macmillan Conservation Fund. The aim of the Macmillan Conservation Fund is to support other conservation initiatives through anti-poaching, through the conservation of Africa's wildlife, community upliftment, development and education, and at the heart of it all, keeping Mike's legacy alive.
So we have another new species to add here, and this is the Cape girdled lizard. So there's two common lizards that we see here, and that's the southern rock agama that we started our show with. And then we see the Cape girdled lizard. And they tend to exploit the same little crevices. The agamas look very different. They've got a very squarish, bulky head. They don't really have that yellowish underside. And the males have those beautiful blue heads when they are breeding. And if you see anything in the frame that we are missing, also let us know. The more eyes you have spotting, the better. So Desiree, that's a very good question. I'm not going to give you an exact number because I'd be lying. I don't think it's more than 15 centimeters. I think they are quite small. What I am going to do is I'm going to get the exact number and then I will answer it on tomorrow's show. So thank you very much for asking that. So I know the agamas get to about 20 centimeters. I think these guys are much smaller. So he's not a very large creature. But I'd say 15 centimeters would be quite large. I'd say 10 would be, on average, what we would see here. So I've just added that girdled lizard into the iNaturalist app. What is very nice about the app is often they will actually have descriptions. So if I had to click on the Cape girdled lizard now, it will actually tell me a little bit more about the animal, which is nice. And iNaturalist is checked by scientists, so often that information is very accurate. And you can upload anything from anywhere in the world to iNaturalist to be able to find out what it is, which is very helpful. We've already included it, but we do have a crowned cormorant sitting on the rock. So we might have a look at that crowned cormorant. Looks to be cleaning itself. It's got some feathers on its face. And it's managed to get several feathers really stuck on its face today. And if you are new to the show and wondering how we can just tell you what the birds are, the crowned cormorant, you can see, has a nice, very long tail that is very distinctive of the species. So Cameron, that's a very interesting question. You're asking if the animals near the ocean are usually bigger. So I just want to finish what I was saying about the crowned cormorant. So when it sticks its head up again, have a look and you might see a red eye and an orange gape. And so Cameron, the answer to your question is that generally the closer you go to the equator, the warmer sort of the climate, yes, climate is the word, generally the bigger the animals are. But then, you know, whales live in the coldest oceans of the world, and whales are the largest animals in the world. So that doesn't really work out too well. I think that works very well on land, I would say, that theory. And Flippy needs to correct me if I'm incorrect on it. But generally, you'll find bigger butterflies and bugs closer to the equator. Certainly much bigger bugs in Djuma than what we have here. With the ocean, let me have a think, because like I say, whales are the largest animals in the world, and your larger whales tend to inhabit colder oceans, because where there's colder oceans there is krill, which is what they like to eat. But I wouldn't necessarily say your Antarctic going penguins are larger. So the emperor penguin that breeds on the Antarctic continent is much larger. I feel like you have a burrowing petrel question here, Cameron. So what I'm going to do, because now I'm finding different animals to compete with different theories in my head, I'm actually going to also do some reading. So I have 2 unanswered questions, 2 bits of homework for tomorrow. I know that I've read conflicting theories. So the one is that closer to the equator, animals are bigger. But then there's conflicting theories about animal size. I know oxygen, so the more oxygen there is, the animals tend to be bigger, but that's more to do with time periods. But I'm going to do some reading about that, and I will get back to you tomorrow with what I find. I do know that in the ocean, there is correlation between size and longevity. So a lot of your much larger animals, like your whales, tend to be very long living, where your smaller animals tend to be a little bit shorter in lifespan.
Our Western Cape coastline is graced with the Cape fur seal. This playful species is curious and entertaining. At Hout Bay Seal Rescue Centre, seals in need are rescued, fed and nursed back to health by our well-trained team of dedicated staff and volunteers. This wonderful legacy of the centre is continued as these protected creatures are rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
Find a way into the kill to eat, get their fill in there as well. But they're also going to be told off. See, lions are not great at sharing their food. Okay, guys. We're just taking frustration out on the other lion, but you see, it was interesting.
So we are on the move again, and I think we might take a stop over at Jacuzzi and just see if we have any wagtails, because we sometimes see the Cape wagtail in this area. So we'll have a look around and see if we can spot the wagtails or any of the other animals. And I know that there is action in the Shire from yesterday, but we're not going to be looking too much at the Shire because we want to see what other animals we can spot. So we're keeping to our theme. So Lawrence is asking if we would count insects, and in a bioblitz, definitely. So the idea is to count everything. If we see insects, I will be honest and say that my insect identification is poor at best. What we can do, however, is that this is a live show and there's recordings. So if we see an interesting insect, what we'll do is we'll zoom in on it, and then Flippy and I will watch the show afterwards and see if we can identify it tonight, and then we will include it in our count. And this is kind of how the BioBlitz works. So the first 4 days are observation days. So you don't necessarily have to identify things at the exact time that you see it. You can just take a photograph, and then I think it's another 3 or 4 days is dedicated to identifying different things. So if I look at myself, I'd be very helpful in identifying pelagic seabirds. Byron would be very great at helping identify fynbos. And you'll see, and I actually challenge you to ask the guides on safari at the moment, because if I meet up with other guides, the very first question I ask them is, what is your thing? Because every guide inevitably has a thing. Some people really like invertebrates. I'd say Steve is brilliant with his invertebrates. Some guides really like mammals, some guides like birds, others like plants and trees. And most guides are generalists. They like all of nature, but everybody has one thing that really stands out to them a lot more and really sort of stokes their naturalist fire, if you will. Are you seeing anything different here, Flippy? Jacuzzi is not helping us in terms of biodiversity. Do you want to keep moving, or do you want to... Yeah, I think we're going to keep moving. And just see, we'll also have a look out on the other side at the nests, because occasionally we have a cattle egret that will walk between the nests looking for bugs, other little insects. You'll see we just do a nice slow walk. Try to make sure we don't miss anything.
In the woodlands of Juma lives a lion pride with a taste for buffalo.
Look, 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 this is insane. Now, this is what I was saying about lions and buffalo. It's absolute pandemonium.
WildEarth have been privileged to follow the Nkuhuma pride for many years. One of the most loved cats in the pride is Amber Eyes. She was not successful in rearing her first 2 litter of cubs and was seen as an aunt to the other youngsters. Then eventually, towards the end of August 2019, we found her with 4 tiny cubs of her own.
I'm not going to come too close because I know you got your babies. And hello, you old friend. Isn't she spectacular?
Oh, look, it's just too special. She's such a fantastic mother.
Look at that, isn't that incredible?
Okay, so we have found some kelp, and it's actually perfect because the tide is coming in, and so we are having a mass exodus of crawly creatures from the kelp line because they want to live. And so the ones bouncing about are beach hoppers, and I have had them on the show. I managed to find some dead ones a while ago. So anything bouncing is a beach hopper. And I'm looking for sea slaters here. Okay, let's see if we can get the sea slaters. And I might even see a kelp fly or two. Flippy, do you see that really light piece of kelp there? Fantastic. Flippy's got it. Okay, so we have 2 sort of, they're not bugs, they're isopods. Because the marine world is insanely complicated. So where you have on land, layman term would be the bugs and the insects. In the ocean, you have so many different types of invertebrates. It's mad. But the ones that are crawling on the kelp and have just fallen off, those were our sea slaters. So I think I'm just going to add that into our sightings quickly. And along the South African coastline, these are the 2 main species that we'll see in between the kelp, is the sea slaters and the beach hoppers. I believe there's 2 different species of beach hopper that we see in South Africa. To tell the difference between the species is extremely difficult. And then you also get the horned isopod that looks like the sea slater, but they've got these little horns in the back of their, I'll call it a shell, for lack of a better term for it. So when I did have a look the other day, the horned isopods, I believe, are more closely linked to the west coast, and these are definitely sea slaters. But what's amazing is that iNaturalist has picked up the kelp, and even in its dead form, it knows that this is sea bamboo, Eclonia maxima. And very interesting that iNaturalist has an option just for isopods. So that's purely just to describe the grouping. So even if you didn't know exactly what it was, you could say that you know it's kind of an isopod, and then somebody else would identify that for you. Two beach hoppers. And usually when we see these beach hoppers and the sea slaters, what we often find is our other shorebirds who are feeding on them. Nathan is reading my mind because you think there would be a lot more birds here. I think that the reason we don't see that many birds here is that this is a very small, very closed cove. Because this is exactly the same sort of scene as what we have in the left wing at Hideaway. But I think there's a lot more open space. People are also a little bit further back from the birds, which is my reasoning. You know, these smaller coves don't seem to favor birds like your sacred ibis that love to feed on the beach hoppers. This is also rocky substrate. The sandy substrate seems to favor the birds a bit better. So I'm just going to add our beach hopper, and then we might get a move on. Strange that there are no wagtails around.
Over the past year, many WildEarth explorers have won life-changing travel prizes.
Today I was told I have won the most amazing prize to go to Maritaba. I can't believe it.
I am most excited to meet some of the guides.
The animals, the birds, and everything else it has to offer. We can't wait to go.
I would love to take my little grandson up with me on this experience to Funda.
WildEarth has brought so much to my life, and I am thrilled and grateful to have this opportunity.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to visit.
Thank you very much for this amazing prize, WildEarth.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and you will be entered into a monthly draw which could see you jetting off to a dream location in 2022. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So we're walking through the nesting section to see if we have anything like a cattle egret or perhaps a different bird species hanging around. We do have a penguin who is sitting right on top of its perch, which is quite funny. It looks very contented on its little tower. I'm still having a look. So I think we should definitely do a bioblitz or just a diversity count next time we have a low tide. We are indeed seeking very hard. Our director is noticing how we spot, and this is very typical actually of how I walk along the coast. And this is the best way to spot whales, is to never look at the path in front of you, but to always look to the side. But we have some other birds for us here. Oh, and we've got another bird. Let's start off with our seabirds, because we have a couple of heartlap gulls in the water. So I'm going to add that. We are on 13 observations so far. And of all the observations, the one that is likely the least common is the bank cormorant. So if you speak to lots of birders, the bank cormorant is often something that's on their wish list. Because this is one of the few places that you will see them breed on shore. They're usually on offshore islands. The heartlap gulls also love to breed on offshore islands, but will often come here to feed. They love to hang out here. We're at the breakwater at the moment. And I don't think we've done a show at breakwater in quite some time. I think we've fed into safari from here. We also have a wagtail. Jerome is in the competition spirit. We've got 2 more to go, and we actually had a wagtail who has now disappeared, so it doesn't count if we didn't show it to you. So I think best we get moving. Let's head over to left wing and see how far we can get out on the left wing. see if there's any other animals there. We've got the 2 lizard species that we can find in the colony. The cattle egret doesn't seem to want to play ball today. It doesn't want to hang out with us. But we can go have a look up for a little egret.
At WildEarth, our explorers are treated to a weekly newsletter, bursting with fascinating features and never-seen-before snippets. Recently, we have added some brand new sections which we think you will love. Find out what happens behind the scenes with our crew when they are not live on WildEarth. Have a giggle at our moments of the week from both Safari and Penguin Beach. And Ranger Eric answers your questions with fascinating and in-depth explanations as to the whys and hows of nature.
Wild dogs coming out of, or the puppies coming out of the den site, making those very high-pitched noises.
All of this and more delivered to your inbox every week. So what are you waiting for? Head over to our website, sign up to be an explorer, and join the adventure. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So we are walking down the main boardwalk at the moment here at Stony Point, and there you can see the slipway from the old whaling station. I think we only have African penguins on that slipway today. And really don't have all that many birds about. It's interesting. I think it is high tide at the moment. So we'll just keep our eyes peeled. It is funny, this often when you are looking for things, they don't show themselves, and the less you want to see something, the more likely you are to find it. I think that goes for all wildlife watching. So we are coming into Hideaway, where there's not a single sacred ibis. Hopefully we'll have some wagtails in this region. We've already had some Egyptian geese, so I'm excited we've already had that on the show today. It looks like we might have some wagtails about. So we'll just get some nice views of them. So this would be the Cape wagtail. The Cape wagtail is the only wagtail we really see here. Up in the bush you also get the pied wagtail, which is quite a bit larger. Very occasionally here we might get the yellow wagtail, but that is what we call a vagrant. So let's upload that to the app. So iNaturalist is one of the most common citizen science platforms in the world, but over the weekend I'll mention some other platforms that you can use to upload sightings. And you wouldn't believe it, but taking part in things like a bioblitz or uploading your sightings, even if it's from your garden, can really help scientists. Scientists don't spend all of their time outside, they're often inside actually. And so they've learned to be able to use this data that's collected by people like you and me to study. And we have an ibis who's flying over, so we'll see if we can maybe get, or we might have several coming in if we're lucky. There we go. Ibis against the clouds. That is our sacred ibis. And I believe that is species number 16. So we've crashed 15, we've done it. I'm hungry for more species now because we've already crossed our target. So we've got 15, or in fact 16. 16? No, this is number 17 actually, in fact. 17 species. Are we gonna head along? We have 6 minutes left to see if we can find anything else. So we'll just move a little bit further along. So if you do want to take part in the City of Nature Challenge,
all WildEarth explorers have a chance to join our naturalists in a monthly fireside chat. This is a great way to learn more about our guides, animal characters, and wildlife locations. We would love to hear from you as to the topics that interest you the most. Email us your ideas or tweet using the hashtag WildEarth, and we will be sure to take them into account when planning our evenings around the fire in the future. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
There's a big male leopard coming this way.
I've been waiting for a sighting of the two of them like this together.
She just, for me, is just one of the most pretty females out here. As you can see, we're sitting with the Duke of Djuma Tingana, who is busy surveying his territory as the sun begins to set on another day in South Africa.
so we are entering the left wing now to see if we can find any more species for our last little bit out here. We hope that you've enjoyed a slightly different show. And I hope that we've inspired you to actually go out and partake and become a citizen scientist. It's very easy. And for one of the first days, I think, ever, both Penguin Beach and Safari seem to have lovely weather. It sounds like it's very hot on their side, and so the guides are going to head out and see if they can spot some buffaloes or maybe even some elephants by the water. And we are looking for just a couple more species. We've only got 3 minutes left, but 17 animal species in an hour without very much intensive searching, I think is pretty impressive, and shows you that down here at Stony Point might not seem like it, but we actually have an incredible diversity in a small area. Ooh, let's finish with our ducklings. So the penguins are chasing the ducklings. Goodness. So these are the crazy eights that are 9. And we have the parrots, who are Mark and Cleopatra, named yesterday. What an awesome way to finish the show. So I think we're going to give up on species and just maybe spend our last couple of moments with these guys. But we hope that you had a fun time bioblitzing with us. And over the weekend, we'll chat about more citizen science, some cool things that citizen science has found and discovered. I'm so glad that we got to show you the shellies today. And see what happens when the wave comes in. It's incredible. I can't believe how tough these little ducklings are. They live at Jacuzzi, and they really go out every day to the left wing and brave this ocean that's really not for the faint-hearted. On behalf of Flippy and I, thank you so much for joining us. We had a fantastic time on the show with you today, and we will see you again tomorrow at 1:30. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. And if you are joining the City Nature Challenge, happy bioblitzing. Thank you so much, everyone.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.